Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going bold. We're going black smoky eye, and you know, I really wanted to show you guys how to do a black smoky eye because I feel like it's one of the hardest looks to achieve, especially when you're first starting to play with makeup, or if you're not someone that really dives into like bold looks. I wanted to walk you guys through the steps, and I wanted to try and make it as easy for you guys as possible. If you guys want to see how I got this look, let's go. Alright guys, so I've already primed my skin. I used my Fenty Pro Filter in the matte formula, and then I also took the MAC Strobe Cream in Peach Light, and I've just kind of hit the higher points of my face with the strobe cream. I'm now going to go in with MAC Studio Fix. This is in NC40. You know, I know people are always like, oh, it's a full coverage foundation. I don't agree with that. I think it is a medium to full coverage. I took 3 pumps, which is why I'm getting this kind of coverage right off the bat. But for me, I find that it is a medium buildable. So I'm going to take my Bright Forecast Prep and Prime highlighter, and I'm just going to use this right in the outer shadow of my dark circles. I'm going to let that dry, and then I am going to blend that out. Well, I'm not going to let it dry. I'm going to get a little tacky, and then I'm going to go in with my Pat McGrath concealer in M16. So I'm going to let these get a little tacky, and then we'll come back. Alright guys, so for setting my face, I'm going to be using my Studio Fix powder in NC40, and I'm using a puff, and I'm just going to place this powder where I really need everything to just stay put, which honestly Studio Fix is really great for that. Like, you don't need to like fully bake, or it's something that I like to do to make sure that I don't have to touch up. Alright guys, so I'm going to take Laying Low Paint Pot by MAC, and I'm going to apply it with my Hourglass brush. And I'm just going to use this as my base today, and we are definitely going to set this with a powder because we need to make sure that everything is nicely set and smooth. So I'm going to make sure that there's no creasing, and that I have a nice even coat of my eyeshadow primer on my lid. Alright guys, so thinking about the holidays, and I don't know why my mind went back to my days at MAC, and I remember always knowing that clients were going to come in and ask for a smoky look. So that's what we're doing today. We're doing a black smoky eye. Today, however, we're going to be using the Side by Side palette by Nabla Cosmetics. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the shade Rarity, which is this shade here, and I am going to take this and dust it all over my eyes. Now, whenever you're doing a smoky eye, you always want to layer, and you want to make sure that whatever base you apply to your lid or whatever primer is nice and set. So for me, that means just taking a light shade and applying it all over the lid. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take Cubism, which is this shade here. We are going black, and usually with a black look you have 2 routes. You can take a brown, and if you take the brown, then that means your black is going to fade into that brown, or you can take a gray, which is, if you think about it, in the ombre effect, you know, you would go from black to gray to white. So I'm going to be using Cubism today, and I'm going to be using the same brush. I want to take something that's fluffy and not dense, and I'm just going to use that into the crease, and this is going to be what our black shade fades into. I was playing with this yesterday. This is where my idea came from, and where my reminiscing came from. I wanted to play with this palette. I saw it on my vanity. I'm like, you know, let's let's play with this a little bit more. I do really like it, and I do find that it is beautiful quality. So I was using a more dense brush, and I did have a little bit of a hard time blending out this gray, but now using something that's a little bit fluffy, I'm not having any issues with it at all. The look I came up with yesterday though was not a full-blown smoky eye. You know, it was just like the silver to black look, and it was pretty, but I feel like I do that look so much, and honestly I feel, and tell me if I'm wrong, but the black smoky eye is probably the trickiest and the hardest eye. I know when I first started doing makeup, it was a look that I practiced a lot because I always found that it was very difficult to blend and to really just kind of make look even, if that makes sense. And for anyone that's tried to do black smoky eye, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is, now that I have my blending shade or my transition shade in place, remember how I say when you think you're done blending, you're not? We're not. Okay, so I am just blending some more. And now I'm going to take this Eclat gel liner. This is a black. And I'm going to take this old brush by MAC. It's a Holiday 239. And I'm going to take some of that gel liner onto one side. And I'm going to use this as my base and my guide. So I am going to place this down on my lid by patting it and dragging some. So I want to make sure that I have nice even coverage. If you're wondering why I'm doing this, it's because black shadow can be a little tricky to work with. It can look patchy, it can be difficult to blend, it can be just a very difficult shade to work with. So by adding a base, it helps saturate the eye, and it helps ensure that you get even coverage, and really it also helps control the shape that you're going for. So I'm going to go with a rounded eye today, and as you guys can see, I'm just taking the brush and using that to guide mi ojo. I'm now going to take a clean fluffy brush, and I'm just going to use this to blend this liner out some. So again, now we're starting the blending process and the smoky look. If you're saying like, what do you mean a smoky look? When you blend, you're creating a smoky halo around your edges, and that is what we're doing. For me, this is a little tricky because of my old hooded eyes or saggy eyes. Having this brush in this shadow kind, or this liner, kind of freaks me out some because I don't want it to stain. I had such a hard time cleaning my brushes last night after playing. Alright, so now I'm going to go back to the original blending brush, and I'm just going to blend this out. And again, same thing here. I'm really just trying to get a nicely even application. And then again, if you're older and if you have you know, some texture or some lines in your eyes, then you are going to have a little bit of a harder time. But this is where we're at. I know it looks kind of crazy, but we'll go in and just kind of clean it up. And really guys, because I used the gel liner, I don't really need a primer because this gel liner is pretty budge proof. But I just force of habit, right? You don't have to use a gel liner. You can use, if you have a black cream shadow, you can use that. If you have a pencil that you like working with, you can use that. You can use whatever dark base you have, and honestly, it doesn't even need to be black. It could be a gray, it could be a purple, it could be, you know, anything that's dark and that you can layer your black shadow on. So I just took this Eclat gel liner because I saw it on my vanity, and I know that it's really budge proof. Alright guys, so now I'm going to take the other end of this brush, and I'm going to take Untitled, which is this black shade here. Yesterday when I was using this palette just to play with it, I realized that it's not the darkest black I've ever worked with. And with blending, obviously it shears out. I'm just pressing this onto where I applied the gel liner. But layered, obviously, over the black, it does make a difference, and it does come off as a very intensely pigmented shadow. It's not a bad quality, it's just not the blackest shadow I've worked with, but I do like it. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because there's some people that want a very deep and black shadow, and this just isn't it for me. I think the darkest I've encountered has been Carbon by MAC. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but if you guys know me, you know that I don't typically do black shadow. I hope you guys can see that by layering this shadow over the liner I placed is really intensifying the payoff and the pigmentation on my lid. I'm going to take my blending brush again and then just start blending these edges. So I'm going to just slightly dust under my eyes because I did get some shadow, and I can see that I look crazy. I look crazy. It looks crazy. I'm gonna go back into Cubism, which is a gray color, and I'm just going to blend my edges out. Again, the shade that you use in your crease is really preference, and I prefer brown. I prefer a brown in the crease. I like the warm effect it gives. I'm not somebody that likes, you know, like super cool tone looks, but for this look I just felt like I needed to stay true to a black smoky eye. So now I'm going to take my concealer, which is a Smashbox concealer, and as you guys can see, it is more of a peachy undertone. And the reason why I'm using a peachy undertone is because whenever you're doing a smoky look, you want to make sure that you're correcting any darkness under your eye, especially when you're going in with a black. So I'm going to take this, and I'm also going to use this to clean up this outer corner. And then I'm going to also just highlight this, the bridge of my nose, because I want to make sure that, again, any shadows that I have are corrected. So now I'm going to take a brush and I'm just going to start blending this. And the reason why I'm going in with a brush is because I want to make sure that I have precision and control. And sometimes the sponge can be a little big and it can spread your product out where you don't necessarily want it. I'll go in with a sponge after I'm done spreading this concealer, and it will just help absorb any additional product that did not get blended onto the skin. Now this part here, I'm just going to go like that. So the other thing is you want to make sure that you kind of keep this inner corner nice and bright. So that for me means cleaning up just a little bit more, because I really like to follow the shape of my eye, but it isn't very flattering. And if you've wiped away any of your shadow, don't worry about it. Just touch it up. And right now I'm also playing with the shape of this. I don't want it to be like super rounded, but I also don't want to have too much color on my lid. I'm going to go in with a little bit of powder, and I'm just going to set my under eye. I am also going to use this time to touch up my brows. And when you're doing a smoky eye, you want to make sure that you have balance. And, you know, some people like to keep their eyebrows just really light and fluffy, but I really like to make sure that my eyebrows stand out. I mean, naturally I like a darker brow, but in this case, when you have such a dark look or such a dark eye, your eyebrows will just look a little bit lighter. So you want to make sure that there's balance. Again, if you're somebody that just naturally prefers a very light brow, do you? But this little mama likes to go in with a little bit of a darker brow. So I'm just blending my crease again. I'm going to take a clean brush, and I'm going to go in with Bonjour, which is another just soft shade. And I'm going to take this and I'm just going to run it along the edges of my gray tone, and then also use it under my brow. And then anywhere where you feel like you need to do some more blending, go in with something that's a little bit closer to your skin tone so that you're not adding more shadow, right? Because we just corrected our under eye with a concealer, and that was to reduce any shadows. And again, differences in eye shape, right? Like this one looks a little bit more lifted and this one looks just like a little smaller, but that's just what we have to work with, right? I'm going to take the brush that I originally used to apply the cream liner, and I'm going to go back into, I'm going to mix Cubism and the black. And we are going to apply that to the lower lash line. I'm taking Cubism, which is the gray, and I'm just using that on the inner corner. And then I'm going to go in with the black, which is, I think, Untitled. Yeah, Untitled. And I'm using that to connect the top and the lower lash. Taking the brush that we used for Bonjour, I'm taking Bonjour again, and I'm just smudging out the lower lash line and just making sure that it's blended. I'm going to take Love Ritual, which is this shade here, and I'm going to press that into the inner corner. And then again, using the brush that I used to apply Bonjour, I'm just blending this into the lids. And then for me, it's always really important to keep this part of my eye as clean as possible, because for me it creates a shadow and I ain't about that life. So now I'm going to go ahead and apply my mascara. I'm going to take Extended Play Giga Black on the lower lash line, and then I'm going to take my Extreme Climax by NARS on the top. Alright guys, so this is what the eye look is looking like. I'm going to take this pencil by Bobbi Brown in the shade Light. This is a retouching face pencil, but I'm going to use it to line my waterline. You could go in with a black, but I want my eyes to look bigger. So I'm going to go in with a skin tone color. If you were to go in with a black will make your eyes look smaller. It closes them off a little bit, but I want to keep everything looking nice and big. I'm just going to do a little more mascara. Whenever you do a black smoky eye, I do recommend lashes, but again, my lashes are long enough to where I don't need them. So instead what I'm doing is I'm just adding more mascara to make them look fuller and not have us lose the look. So now I'm going to take, just to kind of touch up a little bit, the fluffy brush. I'm going to go in with the black, and I'm just lightly going to place some of that black into the crease. For me, whenever I do a black smoky eye, that's my pet peeve. I hate seeing the gray or the lighter shade transition into the actual lid. So I like to take just a little bit of the black and then bring that into the crease a little bit, and I'm not going to bring it inward towards the inner corner because that's just going to enhance, just going to close, you know, add that shadow back to the inner corner. So I'm just lightly adding some of the black where I want it, and voila. So I'm gonna just fast forward the rest of this because I don't think you guys, Mita, I gotta smudge. I don't think you guys need to see the entire look. Really, the focus today was the smoky eye, but whenever I do a smoky eye, I do like to bronze the complexion. So you guys will see the rest of my makeup and fast forward. I'm going to be taking She's Independent and She's Proud. She's Proud, She's Independent by Patrick Ta. Alright guys, I'm going to take my setting spray. Alright guys, here is the final look. I really love this look. I think it's bold, and I think that, honestly, I think a black smoky eye is a very bold look, and I think it is one that, you know, you really need to be confident and secure in your decision. Because if you're not used to a ton of makeup, if you're not used to like this really intense, bold look, then this look can look a little scary. People who go black smoky are people who have done it before, who feel confident, who you know, really don't shy away from bold makeup. If you're more of like a natural, neutral person, this might be a little scary, but I love it. And it's not my go-to look, but it's always fun. So you could always add like some glitter or like a pop of shimmer somewhere to make it, you know, just a little softer. But I really wanted to walk you guys through the steps of a black smoky eye, because I think that's one of the hardest looks to achieve. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this and that you learned something. If you did learn something, or if there is something that you're still unsure about, please feel free to reach out to me and ask me. I'm totally up for answering your guys' questions. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. Thank you guys so much, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.